we leave footprints everywhere we go. In the physical world, they are made in mud or snow, but in the digital world, we leave data, timestamps, GPS pings, Reddit comments. Usually this noise fades into the background of the internet, but sometimes that digital noise is the only thing standing between a cold case and a conviction. Welcome to Signal 49. Today, we are looking at 6 cases where the mystery was deep. The tension was suffocating, and the answers came from the most unlikely places. From a tragic murder in Wisconsin solved by a mobile game, to a digital ghost haunting a Japanese server, and finally, a man who was being stalked by an entity he couldn't see. Let's analyze the evidence. Segment 1. The Cyber Witness, Lily Peters. Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. It's the kind of American town where people feel safe leaving their doors unlocked. It's quiet. It's tight-knit. But on Sunday, April 24th, 2022, that sense of safety was permanently shattered. It started as a typical spring afternoon. Around 3 p.m., 10-year-old Lily Peters grabbed her bike. She told her father, Alex, that she was going to visit her aunt's house. It was a route she had taken dozens of times, a quick 3-minute ride down North Grove Street. In a town like this, a 3-minute bike ride shouldn't be a death sentence. But as the sun began to set, the silence in the Peters household grew heavy. Lily wasn't back. At first, Alex assumed she was just losing track of time with her cousins. He called his sister, expecting to hear Lily's voice in the background. Instead, his sister told him Lily had left over an hour ago. Panic sets in slowly, then all at once. Alex began frantically calling parents of Lily's friends. "Is she there? Did she stop by?" The answer was always the same. No. By 9 p.m., the police were involved. Alex, unable to sit still, retraced Lily's usual path himself. He walked the route toward the Leinenkugel's brewery parking lot, scanning the darkness. Then, near a walking trail, his flashlight beam caught something metal. It was Lily's bike. It was abandoned, lying on its side, just off the path. But there was no sign of Lily. The search continued through the night, but the breakthrough didn't come until the next morning. At 9 a.m., a volunteer searcher saw something unnatural near the trail, a pile of leaves that looked disturbed. Underneath, they found the body of Lily Peters. Police confirmed it immediately. This was a homicide. The town went into lockdown. Parents refused to let their children outside, but the police had a problem. They had a body and they had a bike, but they had 0 suspects. There were no witnesses on the trail, or so they thought. While the police were canvassing the physical world, the internet was scanning the digital one. A post about Lily's disappearance had hit the true crime subreddit. Thousands of users were speculating, offering prayers, or guessing theories. But buried in the comments was a user with the handle HomesliceNation4. This user wasn't speculating. They were a witness. The comment read, "I was playing Pokémon Go on that trail yesterday afternoon." For those who don't know, Pokémon Go is an augmented reality game that requires players to physically walk to specific real-world locations to catch digital creatures. This user had been on that exact trail at the exact time Lily vanished, staring at their phone screen. The user continued. "I saw a girl matching Lily's description. She was wearing a pink and purple hoodie. She was walking with another kid." The comment ended with a chilling observation. "I have a suspicion that it could be another kid that did it." The post was deleted shortly after, perhaps out of fear, or perhaps realizing the gravity of what they had posted. But the internet is forever. Another Redditor had screenshotted the comment and immediately called the police tip line. That single digital breadcrumb broke the case wide open. Police focused their investigation on the local youth. Within hours, they arrested 14-year-old Carson Peters Berger, Lily's own cousin. During the interrogation, the story that unraveled was horrific. This wasn't an accident. Carson admitted that he had been planning this. He had stalked Lily as she rode her bike, lured her off the main path into the woods, and attacked her. The details were brutal. He punched her, beat her with a stick, and strangled her. He then returned home, acted normal, and later went back to the scene to better hide the body under those leaves. Because of the extreme brutality and the premeditation involved, a plan forming for months, prosecutors made the rare decision to try the 14-year-old as an adult. He remains in custody, with a trial set for 2026. A tragedy solved because a stranger was hunting digital monsters on a quiet Sunday afternoon. We move now from the forests of Wisconsin to the dark corners of the Japanese internet. There is a subgenre of horror gaming that thrives on the inexplicable, low-budget indie titles often made by a single person. One such title is Utaho no Tatari. For years, this game was just an obscure download. But in 2014, a player on the subreddit, r/creepy gaming, triggered something that wasn't in the manual. They were playing the second installment of the game when they stumbled upon what looked like a catastrophic glitch. The music cut out. The dialogue box, usually filled with clean Japanese script, was suddenly vomiting scrambled, corrupted text. The screen went black. Then, 4 sharp white flashes. And then, the image appeared. It was a low-quality, grainy photograph. It showed a woman, her face mostly obscured by heavy shadows, with something wrapped tightly around her head. It didn't look like game art. It didn't look like a render. It looked like a crime scene photo. The player froze. Was this real? The gaming community immediately went into detective mode. The gaming. You have to understand the context here. In the 90s, a game called Hong Kong 97 infamously used an actual photograph of a real suicide victim as a game over screen. The internet knew that indie developers sometimes crossed the line. The theory spread like wildfire. The developer of Utaho no Tatari had hidden a picture of a real corpse in the game code. Players began dissecting the game. They found that this wasn't a random error. It was a scripted event. If you changed your computer's system locale to Japanese, the scrambled text became readable. The main character, Utaho, would break the fourth wall and speak directly to the player. The trigger was specific. Walk through 3 torii gates, traditional shrine gates, in a specific order. This started a hidden timer. When the timer hit 0, the game executed the death sequence and displayed the photo. But knowing how to trigger it didn't explain what it was. Reverse image searches came up empty. The face was too shadowed, the quality too poor. For 8 years, the Utaho face remained one of the most unsettling unsolved mysteries in gaming. Was it a murder victim? A medical photo? A prank? Finally, in 2022, the answer surfaced on Reddit. It wasn't a crime scene, it was cinema. A user identified the still from a 2007 Japanese horror film titled X-Tay, or Hair Extensions. In the movie's trailer, for a split second, that exact frame appears. A woman staring lifelessly into the camera with hair extensions wrapped around her face. The developer had simply ripped a frame from a movie trailer to scare his players. The mystery was solved. It wasn't a ghost in the machine, just a very effective jump scare that lasted a decade. Our next case is perhaps the most terrifying because it involves the one place you are supposed to be safe: your own home. On April 15th, 2015, a Reddit user with the handle rbradbury posted a plea for help. He lived alone in a secure apartment. But that morning, he had found a yellow post-it note stuck to his desk. It contained a list of chores. The problem? Bradbury didn't write it. The handwriting was jagged, unfamiliar. He threw it away, assuming he had just forgotten writing it in a groggy state. But days later, another note appeared. This one was stuck to the back of his desk chair. It was 2 words, written in that same alien handwriting: "Save your documents." The psychological toll was instant. Bradbury began to feel like a prisoner in his own home. He was convinced someone was breaking in while he slept, moving his things, and leaving these taunting messages. He did what any strategist would do. He set up surveillance. He rigged a webcam to record his desk overnight, hoping to catch the intruder. On April 20th, he woke up to a 3rd note. This one was more coherent and more paranoid. "Our landlord isn't letting me talk to you, but it's important we do." Bradbury rushed to his computer to check the webcam footage. This would be the smoking gun. But when he opened the folder, the files were gone. There was no footage. It appeared as though the intruder had not only left the note, but had accessed his computer and deleted the evidence. The escalation continued. He found post-it notes covering his doors, but they were blank. He became convinced his landlord was the culprit. He compared the handwriting on the notes to his lease agreement. They looked similar. He was ready to go to the police. He was ready to buy a gun. He went to the subreddit, or legal advice, asking how to press charges against his landlord for stalking. The thread blew up. Users told him to change his locks, to call the cops, to buy better cameras. But one user, a commenter named Kakerlak, ignored the legal questions. He looked at the symptoms. He looked at the confusion. He looked at the layout of the apartment Bradbury had described in a previous post, a small, windowless bedroom. Kakerlak asked a single, strange question. "Do you get bad headaches?" Bradbury replied that yes, he had been suffering from splitting headaches recently. Kakerlak didn't suggest a lawyer. He suggested a hardware store. He told Bradbury to immediately buy a carbon monoxide detector. Carbon monoxide, or CO, is known as the silent killer. It is odorless, colorless, and tasteless. In an unventilated room, it displaces oxygen in your blood. The symptoms aren't just physical, they are psychological. Hypoxia causes confusion, memory loss, and vivid hallucinations. Bradbury bought the detector. He plugged it in. The alarm screamed immediately. The reading was off the charts. His bedroom was a gas chamber. He wasn't being stalked by a landlord. He wasn't being haunted. He was slowly dying. Every night, he was being poisoned. In his confused state, he would wake up, write the notes himself, delete his own webcam files, and then go back to sleep, having zero memory of doing it. The handwriting didn't match his landlord. It matched his own hand when his brain was starved of oxygen. A Reddit comment saved his life. If he had spent one more night in that apartment without that detector, the next post-it note wouldn't have been found by him. It would have been found by the coroner. These three cases remind us that whether the threat is a physical predator, a digital mystery, or an invisible gas, the clues are always there. You just have to know how to read them. Sometimes, a mystery isn't hidden in code or buried in a forum. Sometimes, it's written in 20-foot letters visible from space. In early 2025, a Google Maps discovery in Los Angeles went viral instantly. Users scanning the satellite imagery of a Union Pacific rail yard near Dodger Stadium noticed something alarming. Laid out on the ground, constructed from what looked like long white pipes and wooden boards, was a desperate message. It read, "Help," but it wasn't just one word. As users scrolled, they found more text nearby, Federal, LAPD, and the word help repeated again and again. The internet does what it does best. It panicked. The theories were dark and immediate. Was this a trafficking situation? The rail yard is an industrial zone, often overlooked by the public. Was someone being held against their way, forced to build these signs as a signal to aircraft or satellites? Given the history of crime around LA's railway infrastructure, the idea of forced labor didn't seem impossible. It looked like a modern-day castaway signal, but right in the heart of a metropolis. The coordinates were shared thousands of times. People tagged the FBI, the LAPD, and news outlets. The pressure mounted until law enforcement had to physically investigate. But before the police report was even public, a social media investigator decided to get boots on the ground. They went to the rail yard with a camera. What they found shattered the trafficking theory, but revealed a different kind of tragedy. The rail yard wasn't a secret prison. It was surrounded by homeless encampments. The secure fencing had gaping holes, allowing anyone to walk in. When the investigator spoke to the local unhoused residents, they pointed to a man living among them. He wasn't a victim of organized crime. He was a man suffering from severe mental illness. For years, he had been meticulously collecting scrap materials, pipes, lumber, trash, and arranging them into these massive pleas for authority. Help. Federal. It wasn't a message to satellites. It was a manifestation of his internal crisis projected onto the landscape. The LAPD confirmed this. They had known about him for a long time. They had offered housing. They had offered mental health support. But he had refused every time. The internet saw a conspiracy. The reality was a heartbreaking portrait of the mental health crisis in America. In 2008, a website appeared with a URL that asked a simple, chilling question. https www.google.com search Q1 Have you dreamed of this man? Com. The homepage featured a sketch. It was a face you've probably seen. Thick eyebrows, a receding hairline, a slight, unsettling smirk. The site claimed that thousands of people around the world, from Berlin to Beijing to New York, were seeing this specific man in their dreams. He never spoke, he just watched. The site invited people to share their stories, and the floodgates opened. Over 10,000 emails poured in. People described him offering life advice, staring at them from dark corners, or simply standing silently in their nightmares. Posters of the face began appearing on street lamps in major cities. The theory was intoxicating. Was he a Jungian archetype? A dream surfer hopping between consciousnesses? Or was it proof of a shared simulation? The face became one of the most recognized images on the early internet. But the internet is also a cynicism machine. Users on 4chan and various investigation forums didn't buy the supernatural angle. They decided to follow the money, or in this case, the IP address. A reverse lookup of the website S hosting data didn't lead to a research institute or a paranormal group. It led to a guerrilla marketing agency. Specifically, it linked back to Andrea Natella, an Italian sociologist and marketing strategist. In 2010, the curtain fell. Natella admitted it was a stunt. The face wasn't an archetype, it was a composite sketch based on his own father. The initial testimonials on the site? Fake. The posters? Planted. It was a sociological experiment on how myths are created in the digital age. But here is the fascinating part. Not everyone who emailed the site was lying. Once the image went viral, people did start dreaming about him. It's a phenomenon called priming. By asking, "Have you seen this man?" the website planted the image in your subconscious. You looked at the sketch, you read the scary stories, and then your brain projected him into your sleep. The man wasn't real. But the hysteria he created was. If you were on the internet in the mid-2000s, there is a video that is likely burned into your memory. It's titled, "I Feel Fantastic." The video is simple, which makes it worse. A stiff, mannequin-like robot with pale skin and unblinking eyes stands in a room. It sings a synthesized monotone song. "I feel fantastic. Hey, hey, hey." It wears different outfits. It poses. And then, abruptly, the camera cuts to a shot of a random patch of dirt in a backyard garden. Then, back to the robot. It hit the uncanny valley so hard it terrified millions. The lack of context bred the wildest theories. The most popular one was that the robot was built by a serial killer. The clothes the robot wore? Trophies from his victims. The shot of the garden? That was where the bodies were buried. The robot's singing was interpreted as the killer taunting the world. When the original video was deleted, the legend only grew. It became a modern ghost story. But in 2020, a writer named Yeatsi Lit decided to stop speculating and start digging. He didn't look at crime reports, he looked at tech forums. He combed through the archives of obscure Android enthusiast message boards from the early 2000s. And there, buried in a thread from 2001, he found her. The robot's name was Tara. She wasn't built by a killer. She was built by John Bergeron, an eccentric inventor. Bergeron wasn't trying to scare anyone. He was trying to revolutionize the music industry. He had built Tara as a prototype for the world's first singing android pop star. He spent $2,000 on parts, a lot of money back then, and filmed the video as a demo reel to show investors. The burial ground in the garden. It was just a B-roll shot to test the camera's outdoor focus. Bergeron wasn't a monster. He was a dreamer whose technology just wasn't quite ready for the spotlight. He wanted to make people smile. Instead, he accidentally created one of the internet's most enduring nightmares. From the tragic murder of Lily Peters to the harmless experiments of an android inventor, these stories share one thing. The internet is a magnifying glass. It can solve crimes, but it can also distort reality. It can find a killer, but it can also turn a harmless robot into a monster. As strategists, our job is to filter the signal from the noise. If you have a theory on any of these cases, or if you know of a digital mystery we haven't covered yet, I want to hear it. Join the discussion on the Signal 49 Discord server. The link is in the description below. Until next time.